is Anarchast. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet, coming in today from Cancun, Mexico. We're here for the Passport to Freedom Conference. I'm here with a good friend, Jayant Bhandari. He hosts the Capitalism Conference, which is really an amazing conference if you don't know about it. All the coolest people go to it, people like Doug Casey and Rick Rule and many other past Anarchast guests, and I'm really happy to finally have Jayant on Anarchast. It's been a while, and I've meant to, but we finally met up somewhere and have a camera, so here we go. So Jayant, how did you become an anarchist?
Well, it's a very hard thing to say because I can't even remember when I became an anarchist. I think it was a rational conclusion, seeing all the stupidities that I saw growing up, seeing around me. I grew up in India, and I still have a hard time understanding the fact that our politicians and bureaucrats and our army and our police was so corrupt. Everyone wanted money and everyone wanted to fleece us, but somehow people still trusted and people still wanted a big government. I have never been able to understand that stupidity.
Yeah, me either. So, what was there any, like, when you actually understood the philosophy of anarchy, was there anything that kind of brought you to, like, did you read any books or hear any speakers or anything like that?
So once there was a girl, a friend, a very good friend of mine in New Delhi, and she brought me 5 books, and she told me these books talk similar things that you talk about, and I had never found anything which talked about things that the way I thought things should be. And she gave me books of George Orwell, 1984, Animal Farm, a book of Hayek, and Fountainhead of Ayn Rand. And these were truly one of the most amazing books I had ever read. They were cathartic for me because I realized that I was not the only guy who thought that way.
Yeah, I actually just watched the Animal Farm on YouTube. It's actually for free on YouTube. I hadn't paid attention to it or even looked at it since I was a kid. But now that I've kind of have more understanding about the philosophy of why anarchy is good and all that, I rewatched the movie, the cartoon, and it was really insightful. It basically said that's how government works. Essentially, they wanted to get rid of the farmer because they didn't like him. He was treating them kind of bad. So the pigs took over. Then the pigs became exactly like the farmer or worse because they put their life, their power, the control with one person or one group, which is always a problem. When did you leave India? And tell us a little bit more about India, because you have a lot of interesting, you talk a lot about India and a lot of negative things about how you don't like some things there. It's very interesting, so please let us know about that.
So I left India in 1991, and I was just sick and tired of growing up in that country where everything was so corrupt, the relationships were corrupt. I had never seen, and people talk a lot about happy families in India and the fact that people don't divorce in that society. I had never really seen a happy family in that country. It's a country in a society which is extremely corrupt and extremely confused. And
why do you think that is?
I think part of the reason I think is it's probably the only religion which is a very old religion, Hinduism. Islam and Christianity came much later than Hinduism is, and Hinduism is still a religion with thousands of gods and goddesses. So there's truly no concept of values in that religion. There's no anchor point in that religion,
What's it about? Like, I don't know anything about him.
It's just about expediency. It's all about expediency. There's no concept. There's no foundations, no principle related foundations in that religion. Now, because they have no values, they don't really become aggressive or intolerant in a way, which is a good thing, but they also don't get their mooring. There are no moorings in that religion, in my view. And as a result, and this is probably the only society that haven't been through a revolution yet. And I don't think these things change unless there has been a revolution. And people, because of the confusion and because of solid rooting to any principles, they can rationalize and justify all kinds of corrupt behaviors, and they can exist in all kinds of contradictions within their minds and within their relationships.
Yeah, it's a fascinating place. I haven't spent much time there. I've really only been, I accidentally went to, I forget the name of the place. It used to be called, they changed a lot of the city names a lot. It's on the East Coast. So I was in Sri Lanka, and I was going to go to India, so I had my visa, because you have to have a visa to go to India, which is stupid. And so I wake up in the morning, and my flight's at like noon, which I don't like, because I don't like to wake up very early. And I turn on the news, and they said, in Sri Lanka, the Tamil Tigers have just bombed the airport. I'm like, oh, okay, good. So my flight will be delayed, so I can sleep in a little bit. So I slept in. I woke up around 4, and I go to the airport, and I go, yeah, I'm going to Mumbai, Bombay. And she goes, well, your flight left like 3 hours ago. I was like, didn't the Tamil Tigers just bomb the airport? She's like, yeah, but they do that all the time. It's not a big deal. And I was like, oh, okay. I go, so what's your next flight? And I think it was somewhere on the East Coast. I didn't even know where it was. So those are the only 2 places I've been. But it's definitely a fascinating, interesting place. And that's why I really enjoy hearing your perspectives on it, because you've been there. And you say it's very corrupt, and now you live in Canada, which is also very corrupt. Why don't you talk a little bit about that sort of angle and things?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't live in Canada, to correct yourself. I left. I think Canada and the US are going the way India exists today. So these 2 countries are on a slippery slope, and they will end up where India is today. So there's nothing special about India. Once you start losing your rational moorings, you become irrational, and you keep doing more and more of irrational stuff to correct your irrationality. So that's what's happening, I think, in the both USA, particularly in the USA, but increasingly in Canada, in my view. So I no longer live in those countries. I'm back in Asia. I still don't live in India. And I think India will have to go through its own problems. But, really, even today, Canada and US are wonderful countries compared to what India is. It's a very confused, very culturally and socially corrupt country. You have to understand, more than 50% of Indians still go out in the open to poop. They are not. They don't have water facility. They don't have electricity facility. More than 50% of the people don't have enough food to eat. So it's a very bad place to live in.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. Why is it that it's still so economically bad? Is that part of the whole thing that you were just talking about, and they don't really understand capitalism or how to create wealth? Or is it the bureaucracy? Because that's a huge problem in India.
Well, as I defined earlier about the religion there, the problem is that if you are not rational and if you can't think straight, you are not trained properly. You cannot be trained properly, and you do not think that works well for you in the manufacturing sector. And the result is that Chinese goods that are produced at 4 times the labor cost in China travel thousands of kilometers from China to India, and the shops in my city are packed with Chinese goods, and they have to pay bribes and transportation costs on the way. So you can understand that despite 1/4 the labor cost compared to China, cost of doing things in India is so high because people can have a very, very low productivity. And I attribute most of that to irrational way of thinking.
Very interesting, fascinating stuff. You write about it. You've written on the Dollar Vigilante before. I actually didn't realize. I thought you lived in Canada because you do a lot of your conferences in Vancouver. I thought that's where you live. But are you in Singapore? Is that where you are?
That's correct.
Yeah. Very interesting. Tons of very interesting stuff. If you don't know the Capitalism Morality Conference, check it out. It's a really special kind of place. And Jayant writes a lot. You write on our site. I think you have your own blog and stuff.
That's right. Well, I have written for Dollar Vigilante several times. I have also written for your newsletter, the monthly newsletter. And my seminar is held every year during the summertime. So the next one is on the 1st of August, 2015. And Jeff has spoken, and you have spoken at my seminar once. And you're always invited to come back because people loved listening to your talk at my conference. Rick Rule, Doug Casey are usually there, who are my mentors, and yours as well, from what I know. So it's a wonderful atmosphere at that seminar.
Yeah, And you have so many amazing people. You had Dana Martin last year. She's going to be at Anarchapulco. I don't know if have I talked to you about Anarchapulco?
You have, yeah.
Are you thinking about coming?
I will decide on it in about 15 days. I'm going to Vancouver later today, so I'll decide on it once I'm settled down a bit.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. A lot of people are, they got their own plans, but it's going to be amazing. Dana Martin's going to be there. A lot of amazing people, similar people to your conference, are going to be there. And it's going to be on the beach in February in Acapulco, so I don't think you can go wrong with that. So let people know where they can find more information about your conference and anything else you're doing.
I think if you Google capitalism and morality, my seminar's website will come up. But alternatively, you can go to www.jayantbhandari.com, and you have access to, there's a tab which says Capitalism and Morality. It gives you full recordings of the last 5 years of seminars, and it also gives you information of this year's seminar.
Yeah, and it's really good. One of my favorites is you had a Rick Rule last year, and you put it on the internet. I was just watching that. Amazing stuff. So you got to check it out. Check out everything he's doing. This guy's smart, interesting. Hey, let me ask you one more question. But while we're here, have you been to Mexico before? And if not, or if so, what do you think about Mexico? Because I kind of like it here.
Well, this is my third time in Mexico, and a lot of junior mining companies that I follow have operations in Mexico. From what I have seen, I travel around here by myself. I have done it on 3 occasions, and I love this place. It's a great place, great weather, and very friendly people. So, and quite cheap as well, actually, compared to a lot of Western countries. And Cancun is... I'm amazed. This is my second time in Cancun. I was here about 8 years back, and it feels like being in a rich part of Florida.
Yep. I say the same thing. Actually, that's the part I don't like. It feels a little bit like Florida. It's a little too Americanized here, but otherwise, though, Mexico's great. So if you want, check out everything Jayant's doing, and in Acapulco, February 27th to March 1st, on the beach in Acapulco. It's going to be amazing. All kinds of people. He might come. He probably will come. I have a sense he's going to be there. And but like hundreds of other amazing people. So that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
This is Anarchast.